How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It's Mike from Poketips Official, and today I'm going to be giving you my list of my top 5 favorite beta Pokemon that were cut from Pokemon Gold and Silver. If you don't already know, yesterday the demo for the Pokemon Gold version back from 1997 leaked on the internet and showed us lots of new Pokemon designs that were completely cut from Pokemon Gold and Silver. But personally, I think a lot of these designs were really good. So today we're going to be going into my list of the top 5 best designs, in my opinion, that were cut from Pokemon Gold and Silver. Before we start, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, and let's jump right into the list with number 5, Belmit. Now, Belmit was a cut Pokemon that was supposed to be another evolution of Weepinbell. Weepinbell would have went ahead and evolved into Belmit by using a new item that was also cut from the game called the Poison Stone, and this Pokemon would have been the Grass and Poison type. I really like this Pokemon because it gives an evolution to a Pokemon like Weepinbell that I really feel like could have used another evolution. In this game, they went ahead and gave Gloom an alternate evolution with Bellossom, and I think it's kind of unfair that Weepinbell got kicked to the curb and forgotten about when they cut this Pokemon. Looking at its design, I really like it because it's both simple yet effective. It really looks like what you would think another evolution of Weepinbell would look like. It has leaves, it has a little pose that says it's going to be a strong attacker, and maybe even a quick Pokemon too, and it looks like it has a bunch of personality. I can see one of the characters in the Pokemon anime series, perhaps even James, going ahead and capturing one of these, because James had Victory Bell in the original Pokemon series. I could have definitely seen him running into one of these in the anime and using it as well. Number 4 was a Pokemon called Hoo-Hoo, and this one is going to look very familiar to you because this one got redesigned into what we now know as Noctowl. Unfortunately, when they redesigned it, I think they made a bad decision. Hoo-Hoo looks like an awesome Pokemon, and I really wish we got this design instead of Noctowl. Personally, I really like this design because it makes this Pokemon look like a ninja. It looks so cool and so interesting because of its ninja-like design. The eyes, the sleekness of the body, it just looks like a Pokemon that would be really quick and very powerful, and you would not want to mess with it. It also, in my opinion, looks a lot more like Hoot than Noctowl does. Now, Noctowl does look like Hoot, and I can definitely see it being an evolution of Hoot, but I feel like the Pokemon Hoo-Hoo would have been a little bit more true to Hoot than Noctowl actually was. Also, one more interesting thing to note about Hoo-Hoo was at this point in the game's development, it was just supposed to be a pure flying type. So this would have been the first pure flying type Pokemon that we ever would have had. I know if this Pokemon wasn't cut, it would definitely be one of my favorites to this day, and it makes me really sad just going back and looking at this and thinking what could have been, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. Coming in at number 3, we have the Pokemon called Madam or Matabe. I'm not sure how they were going to go ahead and pronounce it, but this Pokemon was supposed to be Farfetch'd's evolution. It was going to evolve from Farfetch'd at level 24, and it makes me really sad to see this Pokemon cut because A, it has a really cool design, and B, it would have given an evolution to a Pokemon that really needed it. Farfetch'd isn't really a powerful Pokemon in the Pokemon games, and giving it an evolution would really give it a little bit more of a power boost that it would need to just see more viability in-game and in competitive battling. On top of giving Farfetch'd an evolution, which is awesome in its own right, Madam would have been an amazing Pokemon to add to the Pokemon universe because look at that design! Look at it! It looks like a superhero! It has some sort of mask covering its eyes because, you know, it needs to hide its secret identity, its crime-fighting life and everything, but I'm not sure what that is in its wing. Is that a sword? Is that a big stick that it uses to fight crime? I don't know. This Pokemon looks like it could be a superhero though, and that for that reason alone, I think it should have been a Pokemon that we actually went ahead and got. I can't tell you why they decided to cut this one, because Farfetch'd needed an evolution and this was a great design. I hope somehow, someway in the future, this comes back as a Pokemon and it uses that same exact design because it's great. Nothing wrong with it. why'd it get cut? Now, coming in at number 2, we are getting to the end of this list. These Pokemon are the best of the beta Pokemon that were cut. This one is going to be Quillfish's unused evolution called Numpuff. Also, really quick side note, Numpuff? Really? You couldn't come up with a better name than Numpuff? When I originally captured Quillfish in my copy of Pokemon Gold, I was shocked that it did not have an evolution. Quillfish by itself doesn't really strike me as a Pokemon that is just, that's it, one stage and it's done. It feels like a Pokemon that's not complete. It looks like a baby, and it could definitely go ahead and use an evolution. Now, Numpuff would have definitely delivered there. Quillfish was supposed to evolve into Numpuff at level 18, and it was supposed to be a pure water type. However, due to the lightning bolt on its head, kind of like Harry Potter, it makes me think that this Pokemon was not going to be a wizard, but instead maybe would have gotten the electric type later on down the line. And that would have been really interesting to see. Keep in mind, at this stage of the game, there was no Chinchou and no Lantern, so this would have been the only water and electric type Pokemon to come out of Generation 2, and it really would have filled a nice niche there. Numpuff is a Pokemon I feel like had so much potential, and then Game Freak just went ahead and dropped it, and I don't understand why. I already talked about the lightning bolt on its head, but it also could have had the poison type like Quillfish would eventually go on to get, and I feel like this would have made an excellent water and poison type Pokemon. Being in an evolved form, it would have higher stats, and there were so many things that could have came from this design. It could have been a water poison type, it could have been like a pufferfish, who knows, it could have been electric type. There were just so many things that this Pokemon could have been, but unfortunately it wasn't anything because they decided to go ahead and drop this incredible design. And now, before I tell you the number 1, my favorite Pokemon that was cut from the Gold and Silver beta, I'm gonna go over a few honorable mentions first because there were quite a few of them. There were a lot of great designs from this beta, and it was really hard to go ahead and choose just 5 for this list. So here are a few honorable mentions. The Pinsir Evolution Plux, I would have loved to see Pinsir evolve in Generation 2, would have been amazing, and I love the design. Octillery's original design as a tank, why? Why did they get rid of it? It looked so good, it really fit with the theme of Octillery. I just can't understand why they got rid of it. Maybe, if anything, they thought it would have been too much for a kid's game, but I'm not really sure why they got rid of it. It seemed excellent to me, and I really wish they went through with it. The last honorable mention will be Belle Buoyant. Now, Belle Buoyant was supposed to be a pure dark cat Pokemon, and I loved the design. I thought it looked extremely cool, but they just decided it wasn't good enough for Generation 2, and I feel like this Pokemon went to eventually inspire the Generation 5 Purloin and Liepard. Now, with those honorable mentions out of the way, let's get to the one and only number 1 Pokemon on this list, which will be Anchorage. Anchorage was my favorite Pokemon that was scrapped from the Gold and Silver beta by far. I think the design with this Pokemon is flawless. I love it. Really, it's really close to my heart. It's probably one of my top 5 favorite Pokemon, and it's not even really a Pokemon anymore. This Pokemon would have had the water and steel types, which would have made it a really powerful Pokemon, because both water and steel are very defensive types. So even though I don't think this would have been a very defensive Pokemon, I feel like it would have been able to take a few hits because of that incredible typing. But other than its great typing, the reason that I really like this Pokemon is because of the design. Now, the design is so creative, so inspired, and I think it's great. I love the shark head. They didn't even choose to work with a full shark body. They decided just the head, and then they went ahead and put a little anchor on the back of it, kind of like this Pokemon would be dragged down at the bottom of the sea, or it would be so powerful that it needs an anchor to hold it back. And honestly, if you're a Pokemon that's swimming around with an anchor, you've got to be pretty strong to be able to drag that thing through the ocean, so I can only imagine how powerful this Pokemon was supposed to be. Interestingly enough, this wasn't even Game Freak's first cut shark Pokemon. So in Generation 1, we know about another shark Pokemon that was supposed to be in the game, but they cut it as well, called Jaggu. Jaggu is another awesome looking Pokemon because it has a harpoon coming out of the head. Then they came up with Anchorage in Generation 2, but for some reason, they just did not want to put out a shark Pokemon in these games. They had great designs for both Jaggu and Anchorage, although I prefer Anchorage a lot more over Jaggu, but then they finally got to Generation 3 and decided that Sharpedo was the one that they were going to go ahead and finally release. And Sharpedo is another great looking Pokemon, although personally, if I could have any of the 3 shark Pokemon that they decided for the first 3 generations, I would have definitely went with Anchorage. Now, what really surprised me when I was going through the data of the Pokemon Gold and Silver demo was that this wasn't even the final form of this Pokemon. This Pokemon, Anchorage, was supposed to evolve into one more Pokemon called Grotesque, and I don't really like the design of Grotesque at all, so I could definitely see why it was cut. Honestly, it doesn't even look anything like Anchorage or the Pokemon that Anchorage evolves from, which would have been called Sunmola, so I can't really see why this Pokemon was supposed to be related to the two, but apparently it was, and all 3 of these designs got scrapped and just completely forgotten about, although it's obvious that Anchorage inspired Sharpedo, and Grotesque went on to inspire Huntail and Gorbis. And that concludes my list of my top 5 favorite Pokemon that were cut from Pokemon Gold and Silver. I would love to know what your favorite beta Pokemon that was cut or changed in the final versions actually was. So let me know about that in the comment section down below. Make sure to leave a comment. If you haven't already, give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.